Welcome to another edition of Arizona Football. Today we've got some Friday night college football as the Wildcats are up on the Palouse in Pullman to take on the Washington State Cougars. I'm David Kelly, joined as always by Glenn Howell, U of A football class of 1985. And Glenn, the Palouse is never an easy place to go, especially this time of year. It can be cold, it can be rainy. The Cats have given up, I believe, 60-plus points the last two times they've been there. This is just not a game that on paper sets up well for University of Arizona.
No, it doesn't, Dave. I just remember I went there and it was the coldest game I ever played, but we won, okay, when I went up there. So, it's got to be something that's got to be you go into that game in a cold game, you got to get your mind right and be ready to play some football because the Palouse up there, we could have a chance to run the ball against these guys. They're number 9 in the conference against the run the ball, keep the ball away from them so that air raid offense doesn't get rolling. So we got to play possession of the ball.
Well, Glenn, it's interesting. If we're going to run the football, one of the things I've noticed is that this team is not very good in picking up on run blitzes off the edge. That's one of the things that's stifling this run game. So how do you do that? If you see that guy on the edge and you think he's coming, is there a design offensively to try to account for him?
Yeah, usually they're not gonna do anything to audible to get that guy on the outside because what we're thinking is we're running a zone. We should be gone already. We should be already up in the line of scrimmage. The guy would be too late, but sometimes you just don't get that luck.
So in other words, you've got to be quicker with the snap and getting that play going to be able to be successful against those run blitzes. All right, Glenn, the other big topic of the week was scoring in the red zone. The Wildcats obviously did not do a good job of getting touchdowns against Utah, and really have not done a good job of scoring touchdowns all season when they get to the red zone. I'm going to pose the same question to you that I posed to David Adams on Sunday night. Is this thing with scoring in the red zone, is it more a mental thing with the players that they have to just have a desire to want to get those yards once you get inside the 20, or is it the play calling from the coaches in designing plays that are going to get you into the end zone from inside the 20?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because one, we got to go north and south. I don't like the lateral east and west. We got to go north and south. We got to utilize our tight end also, get them in motion. We saw a couple of those in the Raider game, but I just hated that Kelsey was getting. Just killing us. We're not the Kansas City Chiefs, but still we could use some of that kind of stuff. We're using our tight end and using our fullback or even our back out of the backfield also, and creating one-on-ones.
All right, I want to go back to one point on offense in the game from last Saturday. There was a 3rd and 4 play in the third quarter in which Will Plummer tried to hit Alex Lyons on the sideline. It was a play in which Stanley Berryhill came open across the middle, and I want the folks to hear what Jed Fish had to say about that, because I asked him if Will is old enough in his development that he should have seen Stanley Berryhill coming open on that cross there.
Well, it's blitz coverage, and you've got to make a decision. If you're going to throw the one-on-one, you're not going to see the shallow cross that's coming. If you're not going to throw the one-on-one, then you better get the ball to the shallow cross or you're going to get hit. So it's kind of, what we call it a yes-no. You yes-no your one-on-one matchup. If you like it, you take it. And then if you say no to that, then you're immediately looking for your hot throw. In that case, he said yes to the Lions throw, probably remembering the USC throw from the week before. And kind of what happens a lot of times with players is they capture the moment where they threw a one-on-one ball and to the same person who made a big play, got us down to the 1-yard line and kind of wanted to revisit that throw, went back to it. And then, of course, you look at the tape and you could see Berryhill coming and kind of mentioned that to him on the field as well, that you got to know your matchups and then you know where your hot throws are going to be.
Is that a decision he has to make right away?
It's a decision he's got to make pre-snap. He's got to say, hey, I'm going to yes-no that based on the look I'm getting defensively.
And Glenn, right now, again, it goes back to what we've always talked about, and these are pre-snap reads. You've got to understand pre-snap what the best situation is going to be for that play. And I think, again, and I think this is something we forget in terms of Will Plummer. This is a kid that still started I think this will be his, sixth start of his college career. Not everybody is, I mean, obviously I follow USC. Not everybody is Keaton Slovis and Jackson Dart and some of these guys who are going to come in and be awesome right away. For the most part, for quarterbacks at the collegiate level, it takes games and game experience to get into a position where you can recognize those types of things pre-snap and be successful.
I totally agree with you, but what I'm happy about what Will's doing is not throwing a pick, and that's what's good, that he's learning not to throw those, and that's a good step forward. And then as he gets better, things will slow down. He'll feel more comfortable in the pocket, and he'll let things develop, because a lot of those plays, like with Stan coming across the middle, that takes a long time for that play to develop.
All right, defensively, this is a team in Washington State that loves to throw the football. I'm wondering how this changes the Viper role. Nobody really asked Don Brown about that this week. If Christian Young's role is going to be any different in this ball game, with the fact that there's really no tight end in this system, is he going to be left on the field, you think, Glenn, to guard a wide receiver, or do they replace him more with another defensive back?
I would think that they probably would do a little zone on them, because if you want, what they want is the one-on-one matchups, okay? And that West Coast, whatever they call that now, they call it so many things now. It's that you got to be able to get those one-on-one matchups. And if we zone them and we have Christian playing in that position and being in that area, he may be able to get a pick, or we can blitz him too.
Jaden Delore has been a solid quarterback for the Cougars, but I'm going to give you my one to watch. In fact, Glenn, it's actually ones to watch, and I'm going offensive line with it this week. They've got a couple of bookend tackles in Liam Ryan, number 63, and Abram Lucas, number 72. Glenn, get this. These guys have each started 40 games in a row. You can have a pretty decent offense when your bookends have started that many consecutive ball games. Actually, it's the last 27 at their respective positions, because Ryan was a guard before he was a tackle. So 13 of his 40 were in 2018 as a guard, but still 27 consecutive starts for your bookends. That's pretty impressive for an offense, considering the Wildcats don't have a single player who has started 40 games on their roster.
No, that's the Lou Gehrig's of offensive tackles there, right there. I mean, that's a testament to also how they're taking care of their bodies and their strength coaches, I think, and their ATC group is really working with those guys to keep them healthy, and they're just playing all out. And sometimes when you play out, you don't get hurt.
All right, any memories of the Palouse as a player?
Oh, I just remember we were playing against them. They had some great, defensive ends, and we were ranked number 4 or 5 in the country. Went up there with Ricky and all those guys, and I was actually was second team backing up Charlie Dickey, who's a guy that never missed a play as an offensive guard, and I think he's the only offensive lineman in U of A history to win Most Valuable Player on the team. So I was backing him up. That guy never came out, but we went up there and took care of those guys.
All right, well, it is the Wildcats and the Washington State Cougars. The final game before the Territorial Cup game. We'll be back to break it down for you on Sunday night.